Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a Wednesday here on Kobold Press's Twitch channel, where we talk all things Kobold Press. So welcome to Kobold Chats. I have two very exciting people with me today. I'm guessing all of you know them. They're fresh in my mind, but maybe not all for you. So many Kobolds. I'm very excited to welcome Wolfgang and Meagan to the table today, and we're going to chat all things Tome of Beasts 2. So I'm excited. Y'all saw me crack that open last week, but before we get going, I want to remind everyone, thanks for being here. And if you have a chance and you're liking what we're doing, make sure to support the channel, and you can do that by subscribing. I actually think I joked this morning that we're wanting to go from Kobold to Swobold here on this Twitch channel, and to do that, we need some support. So any way that you can do that to help us, including buying merch, hitting the store, and of course getting your hands on this very sweet book we're about to talk about. So just in case those folks at home don't know who the both of you are, would you mind introducing yourselves?
Oh, sure. Yeah, we've done that once or twice, but I'll say I'm Wolfgang Baur. I'm the founder and the publisher at Kobold Press, which I guess makes me the Kobold in Chief. But the one who's really got all the authority is Meagan.
I don't know about authority, but I'm Meagan Maricle. I'm one of the editors for Kobold Press, and I was the editor and developer on the Creature Codex and the Tome of Beasts 2.
Nice. Well, we're here to talk about Tome of Beasts 2, which I'm just, like, slowly falling in love with. I just want the both of you to know that I was just bragging on how much I've enjoyed, like, digging through it over the last week, because I promised everybody at home I would, and we would be back to talk more monsters, and in fact, we are here to talk more monsters, so, let's get down to it.
Promises kept.
Yeah, promises kept. I showed back up, y'all. Did my duty. I don't know. I thought maybe we'd start with, this is obviously the second book, not the first one. So what really drove Kobold to want to make a second book? Like, was there an ask for it, a need for it? Why? More monsters.
Yes. Well, I can speak to that. The first one was 4 years ago, right? In the early days of 5th edition D&D. And it was the first hardcover monster book that Kobold Press ever tried to pull together. And I don't think we knew quite how big an ask that is, right? A full play test, 400 pieces of art, all that development, all that layout, not to mention just producing and shipping it. So we were exhausted after the first one and said, yeah, let's do that again later. And I, in particular, said, I think I need someone like an editor who isn't me. Because Steve Winter was the developer on the first Tome of Beasts, and I helped with the editing. But Meagan came in with just all the chops and knocked it out of the park with Creature Codex. So when it came time to decide who was going to be running the show, developmental, editing, proofing, everything, Meagan was on deck. And a large part of it was people fell in love with the first one. They put the monsters, because they're open content, they put them in their own creations. And they kept saying, so when's the next one? And it took a while, because we really wanted to have 400 original monsters. But one of the things that the Tome of Beasts series does is we don't really go back and do monsters you already know. I mean, Meagan, when you saw the first turnover for Tome of Beasts 2, was there a whole lot of, yeah, seen it? I don't think so.
No, because I don't know what has happened to our designers in their previous lives, but they come up with some very interesting things.
Tell us where the monster hurt you, right?
Right.
Where did this horrible dream come from?
Interesting. That's kind of cool, though. I mean, if people are begging for it, give the people what they want, right?
Yes.
And so, Meagan, you were involved in the second one, but not the first one. So I would think this is your little Kobold baby a little bit. 400 monsters, I read. 400.
Well, yeah, it's a lot. It's Tome of Beasts 2, but it's our third monster book.
Right, because of the Codex.
Yeah, because of the Creature Codex. So technically the Creature Codex is my Kobold baby. But that's also when I was really new to Kobold. So this is the first really big book the first big monster book that I've worked on as full Kobold all the way.
Okay.
And yeah, it was a lot of fun, a lot of interesting monsters. And just like we did with the Creature Codex, and I believe for the Tome of Beasts as well, we got to accept backer monsters in it, which was, for me, a lot of fun.
Yeah. Okay.
This is where everyone tells us we're crazy, right? Like, why do you do this? Backers love it because they have a chance to be published. And every time we're like, we've got 600 or 1,000 entries, we need to pick the top 50 or 40. And it's not easy.
I can only imagine, especially if you're saying you're getting a lot of like original content. It's like, how do you turn down these crazy, bizarre, and wonderful ideas?
But some of the backer monsters are the craziest, most wonderful ones, right? Like the Swobold was a backer monster. The Shark Bowl Ooze is a backer monster, and I think the Bar Brawl from the Creature Codex is a backer monster.
Yeah, and then the what was it? I just had it in my brain. Oh, the snake with 100,000
the snake with 100 mage hands, which is like the breakout star of weird monster baby from Tome of Beasts. I love that thing. And Megan, I'm gonna say, when we first heard the name, I don't think everybody loved it, but I loved it. I love that name. You just didn't want to have to alphabetize it.
The backers kind of talked us into actually keeping that one, because we were like, names might be subject to change, and then like every backer comment on that was, don't change snake with 100 mage hands. It's like, okay,
all right,
I guess we're keeping that one.
And here I'm thinking, like, for layout, how does that fit in the table of contents, right? Like, we want a narrow column. Anyway,
yeah,
we made it
on
work.
The pawns, it was fun because we had to like squish that one down into.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But it's awesome. What a crazy monster, right?
It is a crazy monster. And what a silly idea. I mean, everybody loves a good mage hand, right? But to have 100 mage hands.
Yes. And now you've got snakes with mage hands.
Yeah.
I mean, it just makes me think that's so D&D.
It is so D&D. I almost want to have like an entire thieves guild that is totally dedicated to this snake, because I imagine that a sneaky snake only uses his mage hands to take other people's stuff. It's amazing. I love that.
Well, I mean, if you had 100 mage hands, what else would you do with it, right?
You could slam doors simultaneously.
It's actually a very intelligent monster. It has an 18 intelligence, and so running a thieves guild is not out of, it has stealth, it has sleight of hand.
Could be a very interesting take on like the leader of a thieves guild. I love it so much.
Yes,
it's so fun.
We want to meet your meet your leader.
Right. So I've heard through the grapevine that not only is this available, hardback, you can get it like now PDF on the website.
Yes.
But we have a very special release as well of this, a limited edition one.
Yes. Oh, I thought you were talking about Roll20 or Fantasy Grounds for a minute. But yes, there is a limited edition, which we do this for every one of our hardcovers these days. It's a beautiful... do we have a picture?
We do. I just put it up.
Oh, good. Man, I'm not looking at the stream. I'm looking at my camera. Silly me. Yes, it's gold. It's gold foil. It's a design that... the art director, Mark Radel, works with graphic designer Addison Rankin on some of these. And it just feels kind of lush and beautiful. We put in ribbon bookmarks. We put in special end papers. And because we only print a couple hundred of them, they've been turning into collector items. Like, people are asking me for Creature Codex limited editions or the first Tome of Beasts. And I'm like, they're long gone, people. But we printed enough extras this time because we knew there were going to be some lost in shipment. And the last thing I want to do is tell somebody who backed a limited edition, like, sorry, lost in the mail. There's a refund. You'll never have one.
Yeah.
Right? Like, no. So we print a few extras so we don't have to, we can send another copy. But then we often wind up with like, hey, we've got 20 just sitting around. What are we going to do with them, right? Like, they've gone to everybody who backed it on the Kickstarter. All right, we're going to put a few of these up on the store, and they never last. They're gone in a couple months, and then it's right back to, are you going to reprint the limited edition?
Nope. No. So what I'm hearing is get it while you can, because they're in store now, or at least there are a couple left. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you're down at the Kobold Store Press, it is available. Uh, However, yeah, first come, first serve. I make no guarantees. That's, they could be sold out now. I don't know. They're going to last till
Well,
the end of the week.
there's
Next week.
a link in the store for everybody that might want to try to get their hands on one. There are many mage hands on one.
Yeah. That's the perfect way to acquire this.
So, obviously, you were talking about this process. It's like, it's a big one. I mean, I'm gonna
Yes.
repeat, y'all, 400 plus monsters. That's no small feat. Obviously, sourcing from our, the public has been very, very cool. But what does a process like this look like? Where do you even start populating that many monsters? Like, what does sitting around the table making this happen look like?
Sure. Well, the very first step is feeling that we've gotten over doing the last one and that we have energy to try it again, right?
Right,
Like
yeah.
forgetting the pain and just remembering the joy of making a big book of monsters. So step one is, okay, we're going to do it again. And then it's really, I mean, I asked a few people like James Introcaso or Philip Larwood, Darren Drader. There's various designers. Hey, pitch some stuff.
Oh, okay.
And they'll pitch like 30 or 40 ideas, and my job is often just saying no, right? Like, no, did it, seen it, no, not another planar thing. Who's going to run a CR27 whatever? No. So I say no a lot, and the stuff that remains, it's like, okay, we'd like these 12 or 20 or 30 monsters from some of our regulars. And that's kind of the foundation of the new stuff. But then Megan often reminds me that we have other things like, I don't know, the Warlock Bestiary or the Margaret. Where did we do all these pickup? Because we pick up the cream of the crop from adventure products. You worked on Empire of the Ghouls, Megan. Didn't we pick up like a dozen monsters from that for this? I
Yeah,
can't
there were a
remember.
handful of the underworld monsters that we picked up out of there, and then we picked up a handful of the monsters out of our warlock lairs that had a lot of promise to them, or that had tie-ins to our other books, like the Rum Gremlin Lord.
Oh,
Rum Lord
Yes.
Gremlin is like an advanced version of the Rum Gremlin, which appears in Tome of Beast 1. So we have a handful of creatures that were either designed specifically for Tome of Beast 2 or that were designed in like our warlock lairs or something that were carryover, that were callbacks to that first one. I know one of our backer monsters, the Aeonic Savant, was a kind of an homage to the Tome of Beast 1 Aeonic Drifter. Right. So we have a few monsters that are like that kind of have callbacks to the first one. And so for some of our pickups, they were ones like that were callbacks, or like we had the Dragonborn Edget,
Yeah.
or the Edget Initiate, I think. Yeah, because the Edget was in Creature Codex,
Yep.
and then in one of the Warlock layers, one of our designers created the Edget Initiate, which is like that Dragonborn who just got in the military, and he's like, I'm gonna be like the big guys, yo. And he's really just feisty and wants to get in the military, and so we've got one of those that's in this book. So
Yeah, and sometimes we luck out too, right? Like Dan Dillon, a designer at Wizards of the Coast these days, also did a lot of work for Kobold Press way back when. But we had talked with him about Tome of Beast 2 like literally 2 years ago, like ages ago. And he had signed up to do a Fey Lord and a Fey Lady, and he did most of the Fey Lords and Fey Ladies in Creature Codex? No.
I
Tome
know
of
he did
Beast
at
1.
least one or two, and maybe
Right. And so we're like, well, he's promised it
right.
and he delivered it. Why wouldn't we? Like, don't want to say we lucked into it. We'd asked about it, but then it just sort of like, oh, well, we don't have it. We've done Fey Lords and Fey Ladies in the prior monster volumes. Who better to get a new set, right? So
Yeah.
it's the Mistress of Teeth and the Lord of Horn and Gold, and they're both kind of cool, frankly. I want to go write more Shadow Realms stuff just to give them more location, right? Like, I want to go write a setting
Yeah.
just to make sure these monsters have minions and legions and
So
weird...
chat, you heard it here first. Wolfgang's gonna write another.
I said I want to, not that I have time to. It would be cool. It would be fun.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
it definitely would be. And let's be real, we have our hands full. We'll be making an announcement here at the end, everybody, about our next Kickstarter. So make sure to stick around. Don't go
Yes.
anywhere. It'll be a nice little reveal. So we are Wolfgang and the crew's writing stuff. Just
Yes.
working
And we're
on
going to
some
talk
things.
about some of that at the end. But
Yep.
yeah, Megan, where else did we pick up weird stuff from? Because there were a couple of pickups that I was like, really? Oh, where did the scroll mummy come from?
That was another Warlock lair.
Okay.
Yeah. If you guys haven't had a chance to check that one out, the scroll mummy is really, really cool. The idea of a mummy that was wrapped in arcane scrolls and stuff and is very magic and scroll focused. And the artwork is awesome for it.
That is very cool. Okay, working on Scroll Mummy, gonna make artwork on the screen. That's cool. I mean, there's obviously, like I said, a ton of monsters, and I'm saving it till the end. I told everybody last week I'd make you both tell us maybe a favorite monster. So
Yes.
we'll hold that for the end. But the first tome, is there anything we can expect out of this one that maybe we didn't get out of the first one? Something that maybe sets it apart, or is it really just another great have on the shelf for like your campaigns and your DMing?
I think they all have flavors and they all have things that make them distinct, right? Like each monster book has a couple of themes. And I don't know, Megan, maybe you agree with this, maybe you don't, but we went to Mike Wellham, one of our design regulars, and he said there's a couple of terrains that 5th edition D&D doesn't really flesh out as much as we'd like, right? Like,
Oh, okay.
if you need Arctic monsters, there's a selection, but it's pretty thin.
Yep.
And so there's like 30 of them in this book, or 30 that fit into that. And the same with swamps and marshes.
A personal favorite setting.
Yeah, and the Underdark and dungeons. Of course, there's tons of those in D&D, but I feel like that's one where there can always be more.
Yeah.
And we also got into some Eastern and Indian themed, like more Asian, less European, some Japanese, some Chinese, from folklore mostly, even an Indonesian monster or two. Actually, yeah, Megan, correct me if I'm wrong. I can't remember where all those came from, but we did a bunch with that.
I actually, in preparation for this, grabbed a handful of our monsters and wrote down the folklore origins for them. So.
Oh, that's
Oh.
very cool. Ooh, do tell. That's really neat.
Yeah.
Well, we do like pulling from folklore, right? And so one of the differences between the first Tome of Beasts and the second Tome of Beasts, aside from what Wolfgang was saying with terrain, because in the first Tome of Beasts we were just like, hey, cool monsters, right? In the creature codex,
jungle and desert terrain. We
Right,
were very
right.
deliberate, but yes.
there was a lot of jungle and desert. And in the creature codex we tried to expand a little bit more on the terrain, but I think in Tome of Beasts 2 we focused a lot more on paying attention what terrain each monster was from.
Okay.
So that we can make sure that we hit all of the different terrain notes, to make sure that you've got decent CRs or decent spread of CRs in each terrain.
Yeah.
But folklore is definitely something that we always love pulling from, and our designers really like designing. And like Wolfgang said, we pulled a lot from Eastern folklore. We also have a handful, because we did some Arctic monsters, we have a handful of creatures from Inuit folklore, Yupik folklore. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, but they're a Western Alaskan indigenous people. The Palrayuk, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, is this dragon with like a 3-part body. That's pulled from that folklore. We have some Eastern Slavic. We have Icelandic folklore. The Icelandic folklore are the Ilveli. Goodness, you guys are making me pronounce all these weird words today.
I know. We should have put a pronunciation guide in. It kills me if we forgot.
Right, but the Icelandic ones, we've got some smart whales, and there's like this whole like subspecies of intelligent evil whale in Icelandic.
And the art is
mythos.
incredible. Like super fierce. So fierce.
Right? Like, who thinks like evil whales coming to get you? But yeah,
They coming.
If you live in Iceland and you go out on the water in a tiny little boat, whales are not your friend.
No, yeah, you're probably right.
Or they could turn against you, is what I'm saying.
Wolfgang with the wise words of wisdom.
right. And then we have a few things from Greek. We actually have two things from American folklore. We've got the Sasquatch, which most people in America recognize, and then we have the Hodag
Hodag.
The Hodag
from Wisconsin folklore.
I love the Hodag. The folklore. Okay, that makes me very happy. I did not realize
such a Midwestern, Wisconsin-y.
It's so
Nobody
good.
gives Midwestern, the Beast of Bray Road, the Hodag, all these things. Anyway,
It's so
we're
good.
saving some of them for next time.
It's so good.
But we did say we did say we put in Eastern folklore, and then I proceeded to name non-Eastern folklore. So some of the Eastern creatures we've already mentioned in our backer updates and in previous streams about the Tome of Beasts. That would be the Xingtian, which is the headless giant.
Yeah.
And then we've got the Yao Jing, which is, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, is also Chinese. It's kind of a fox-like looking character. The Huli Jing, which is also a fox-like creature, but that's more of the nine-tailed fox. We have several kami from Japanese folklore.
Mm-hmm.
We have the Ikuchi, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, which is a big like water serpent. That's also from Japanese folklore. And I think that is all I have on my list of. I know we've got like at least about 100 different folklore creatures in there, but that was just my quick skim yesterday of just grabbing a bunch of folklore things.
That is, I think it's really cool. I mean, usually you find that you buy books based on location versus having like this massive archive of them across different settings and locales and in this case like cultures, which I think is just it makes it that much more valuable in my opinion, like a must-have on the shelf of things for GMing, I think, which I think is just
I mean, it
really
helps
awesome.
you no matter what kind of homebrew you're running, right? Or what kind of themes you've got in your game. And it helps you across a wide range of terrains and I don't know what I want to say, adventure possibilities, right? Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, we want there to be ghosts and fae, not just from sort of a British and Celtic and Germanic background, but bigger than that.
But bigger, yeah. I was
Plus
just
the-
oh yeah, no, I'm sorry, go ahead, Wolfgang.
No, plus you gotta have a Hodag, right? I just
Gotta have that Hodag. I wonder
yes.
if I'm gonna have to find that.
Mothman next time, I think.
Ooh,
That's
yeah.
We have the Lunarian, which is kind of a moth person.
It kind of is. The Lunarian kind of is.
This is a great Hodag. I'm gonna have to share this art too. I'm a like I said, I'm a bit of a stickler for the Hodag. For all of you that don't know about the Hodag, go check it out. Buy this book and then use it in your campaign because it is it's wonderful.
I mean,
yeah.
the Sasquatch everybody knows, but we're trying to bring some attention to creatures less well known as well, right?
Yeah, for sure. Especially since, like, you know, Hodag. It's just a great name, period. Like, who doesn't want to be like, and the Hodag steps out of the brush? Like, come on. That's so good. So I was going to say, I was planning on sharing a different one for maybe like a favorite or something like that. But do both of you have a favorite? Whether it be one you worked on or one somebody else submitted, like, do you have a favorite for this this tome?
I have a bunch. It's hard to
Well,
pick
guess what?
one.
We've only got time, Wolfgang.
Oh, all right. I mean, okay, so there are some that I'm gonna say were runners up. Like the Salamander Monarch made me so happy. Someone else designed it, but I saw it and I'm like, I've loved salamanders since like Halls of the Fire Giant King, since like forever. Or the Sapphire Jelly, which sounds like a D&D monster that, you know, Dave Arneson invented in 1985. It's like, what do you mean the Sapphire Jelly is new? No, it's brand new. I'm like, really? It sounds familiar. Are you sure we're not copying something? No, it's new. We tell you. All right, fine.
Okay.
I believe you now. But I'm going to go with one that I designed.
Yeah, do it.
Because it does a lot of obviously, it does a lot of things I like. Huh, funny. It's called the Herald of the Void. It's a CR11 fiend, and it's chaotic evil. And it sort of shows up in places where things are about to go to hell or the abyss, or the void is basically where the cultists are winning. This is where the Herald of the Void shows up, right?
Interesting.
Some kind of apocalypse is coming. whispers echo through houses nearby. There's always an evil wind stirring dead leaves somewhere, right? Like, it's that looming sense of it's going to be bad. And what I like about it is it draws on all the void magic and void cultish stuff that are in other Kobold Press adventures, or like the void magic in the Deep Magic hardcover.
Right.
And it links sort of to, I don't know, we do a lot with void speech as this language of pure evil, which we first had in the first Tome of Beasts. And there's a little sidebar about what void speech is in the front of Tome of Beasts 2. But basically, it's meant to be just the worst, because if an object hits the Herald of the Void, it just vaporizes.
Oh my gosh. That's so
and
cool.
One of its legendary actions is called Discorporate, which it's not as mean as Disintegrate, right?
Okay.
But it picks two things that become intangible for a while. It turns you into a ghost.
Oh.
Which is mean, but not as mean as being disintegrated, I'll have you know. Everything you're holding is dropped, right? You can't interact with the physical world. You can still talk. People still see you. You're just a ghost, because the void has swallowed the matter that you once were made of.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just fun.
Okay, so I have a question. So does that mean, say he discorporates and I'm one of the NPCs, do I drop all my stuff? Like, if my body goes incorporeal, it drops everything?
Yeah, everything you're holding.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
That's such a mean and wonderful thing as a GM to do.
And I think there's a little room for, like, if you want to say, okay, you know, you're wearing whatever underneath your armor,
right?
Or, you know, let's not get too weird, but basically, yeah, you're not holding your wizard staff, your scroll, your shield, your vorpal sword, whatever. It's not in hand, and it's just a nasty little trick to play.
That is a nasty trick, and I love it. Talk about chaos.
Yes,
you're chaotic. You're chaotic evil, aren't you, Wolfgang?
What? No, who said that? Tell me who. I'll need my vengeance.
Like I said.
The art's fantastic, too. It's Marcel Mercado is the artist on this one. And he kind of channels something floating and sort of, I mean, how do you do void and incorporealness and all that? But yeah. It's got that winking starry eye. It reminds me a little of, like, Marvel supervillains, kind of.
Yeah, I was actually thinking, I love the way in the artwork his fingers look like stars. Like, he's drawing his magic look almost like constellations, which I think is so neat. That is so cool.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's hard to go wrong with something like this when the art's that strong and it's got powers that people haven't seen before. Makes it a lot of fun for me. It's certainly meant for higher level characters, but it's got a role to play before the ultimate tier, right? It's not the sort of thing you have to wait until everybody's 15th or 20th level to haul it out of the book.
Right. Yeah, somebody in chat, Senior Dread, is saying, last session he got to use one. He was the Herald for a Void Dragon.
Oh, cool. Perfect.
Yeah, really cool.
Oh, that's so great. Yeah, I mean, I kind of picture it like Wormtongue or any of those, like, I'm here to speak for my Lord Sauron. Have you heard?
Yeah.
Like, I just hear that.
Yeah, that is just very cool. Yes, Amanda, Wizard Red Skull, that's you? Yes, Wizard Red Skull, that's you. Love it. Yes. Very cool. I mean, what a neat... I feel like more often than not, we find a lot of really what I call grounded creatures, meaning like monsters, right? They're physical. I can hit them. They can hit me. But a creature like this really, I think, challenges both the player and the GM to think outside the box in how
you
use something like this at the table.
Right. The whole thing about it being 0-dimensional is it can move through space without squeezing through any. It goes through keyholes, right? It passes under doors without stopping. It just does. which is a lot of fun the first time you make a point of it, right? It walks through the portcullis, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it doesn't give it a whole lot of extra power, but when you're describing it at the table, the players all go, "Oh shit, what?"
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like, it can
what,
do that?
I can't hit it, or my weapon's gone?
Right. Does this mean it's incorporeal? No, it just means it walks through stuff.
Yep.
Well, or better yet, don't tell them that. Let them figure it out.
Yeah, I'm looking at the page here, and it's got a really interesting attack action called the Final Song, which is very cool. Utters a melody of cosmic doom. That is awesome. That's very, very cool. Even on, like, in this case, it's used for combat, right? But just the idea of even, like, expanding on that. This idea of having to stop a Herald of the Void who's going to sing this, like, song, right? This doom-driven melody is just so cool. Oh, love it. So neat.
So it's very metal, and I like it for that.
Yes, it is very metal.
But enough about me. I want to hear which one is Megan's favorite.
Yeah, me too. You know, you got to see them all through and through and through 100 times over, I'm sure of it, Megan. So do you have a favorite?
No, I can't pick a favorite. If I pick a favorite, then I'm going to have the designers coming back to me being like, "Why didn't you pick mine?" Or another designer being like, "So you like me best. That means, you know." No, I can't do that. I can't pick a favorite. That's not fair. I did, however, because you asked.
Thanks.
I picked a handful of, like, backer monsters that I think were pretty
okay.
conceptually and design-wise.
Mm-hmm.
So I picked 4 of those. Is it okay if I narrowed it down to 4?
Yeah, totally. I'm gonna pull the images while you talk, so we can talk through them, and I'll get them up on the screen for everybody.
Okay, well then I'll do them alphabetically, so it makes it easier for you.
I appreciate that. You're my hero.
So the first one is the alchemical skunk. So I really liked this one because I didn't get to do the voting at all on this. So we had a bunch of different judges that voted on the backer monsters. So when this one came to me, I was like, "Oh, what?" And then you read it, and it's a lot of fun, right? It's the idea that, now, again, it's wizards messing with animals, which never ends well.
Nope.
But this time, I liked the premise of it being, it was like that college prank, like the senior year prank, right? Because they're like, "Hey, let's get a skunk and let's just feed it all kinds of, like, weird potions and then just, like, release it in the halls." And then so it has a gas that's all these random effects, right?
Sounds like every wizard school ever, right?
Yeah,
Right?
I love that.
Right? Except for this one now is able to actually, like, continue its populace, right? And it really likes eating alchemical things because that's what has eventually happened biologically, right? So it becomes this, like, menace to alchemists and everything, right? And the rangers in the woods are like, "You know what? We just leave that one alone. We just, you know, if you see," and the colors, because you guys can see the picture now, the colors on its back change depending on what gas it's about to spray, and that kind of gives you an idea of what effect is about to happen.
That is really cool. I love that he
I
changes colors. He's almost cute.
Right? Well, he just wants to eat your potions. That's it. That's it, you know?
He just wants to, just give him tasty potion treats and nothing will happen.
Yeah, he's a little, Chat says he's a little mood skunk.
Yeah, there you go.
It's mood, I love it.
But yeah, I do like that the artist ended up going with, had the transition of the color, right? That it wasn't just all one color. So I really like that. So it's showing that, yes, this thing changes color, and that kind of informs you what's going to happen to it.
So cool.
Yep. The next backer monster that I read this one and I was like, our poor artist. Like, I'm so glad I'm not the art director on this one. It is the Arachnocrat Devil. So it's basically a spider-like fiend that puts itself into a human suit. But not an actual human. No, it actually, like, wears clothing and attempts to pass itself off as human to corrupt nobility. Like, that's what it does. Its whole purpose is to corrupt nobles. And, like, reading the original description, I was like, I don't know, like, this poor artist. And the artist knocks it out of the park.
Killed it. That art is hysterical.
Like, I can believe that as an actual aristocrat that someone might come across and be like, is that guy really a spider? No, he's just a little weird. It's fine. It's fine.
He likes dressing up like a human, but yes.
Yeah, I imagine in my mind, like staring at this picture, that he has 2 legs in each leg and armhole. He has to, right? Because he's still got 8 legs.
Right.
Yeah, definitely 2 legs in each pants, 2 legs in each arm.
I have to say, the first time I saw the art, I'm like, is that a fistful of dice? It could be a fistful. No.
Oh.
They're gemstones. He's a devil. He's tempting things.
Yes.
He's so...
he has the ability, because their whole shtick is they try and get into high society to then corrupt nobility.
Mm.
And so he's holding gemstones because they can, like, eat rocks, and in, like, a second stomach, it kind of turns them into, like, little fake gemstones. So then that's how he buys his way into nobility, right? Because he's selling these gemstones or whatever.
Which are really just rocks that his body's, like, processed?
Yes.
That's
to look like actual gemstones.
What a total con man.
Yes.
So good.
He's awful.
It's great. The other part I love about the art is the gloves. Like, you can tell he doesn't have all of his fingers.
Yes.
Just in how the gloves are hanging. And that's is a tiny detail, but I really like that.
Yeah, I was thinking, there's so much about it that I love. I love his, like, very scrawny little legs, you know, this, like, poofed out, like, all, the design is superb. The artist nailed it. It's so good.
And I was so worried. Like, this was the one backer monster I was the most worried about the art. I was like, oh my gosh, this poor artist. I don't even know what's going to happen. But did an excellent job.
Cool. Yeah.
And unfortunately, I don't have artist names, so I'm sorry. But whichever artist did it, you are amazing.
Yeah, killed it.
Yeah. I think this is one definitely that I would love to play. Frankly, I could put it in a Call of Cthulhu game, not just a D&D game. Right? That whole, like, the horrific monster and human dress-up would be fun to do.
Yeah.
But decadent nobles anywhere have a few of these hanging around their court being awful. But yes.
That's, very cool. I mean, it's just such a cool. I was pulling up its abilities, but I just think that's so neat. And it's a backer concept. First off, all y'all in chat that are supporting and submitting these are awesome. These are so cool. I love that we take the extra effort at Kobold to, like, bring people's ideas into these is one, but, like, two, it's really cool to see what people come to the table with. Like, the whole collaborative process of making the tome too, and really the first tome is just. It's just so neat.
Right?
I love it.
It wouldn't be worth all that extra effort if people didn't really show up with their best stuff. And they do, right? Hundreds of people take a couple hours, do some play test, knock it together in whatever fashion their process works, and turn it over and, like, fingers crossed, I think I'm getting published, right? Yeah. And obviously we have to disappoint like 95 whatever percent of those. But for a lot of people, it's I don't know. We get some nice letters later when they see the art for the first time.
It's just amazing. Yeah, to see your idea come to life is so super cool. Man.
All right, more backer monsters.
Yeah, more backer monsters. Yeah, tell me what else you got.
Since we're going in this direction, I'm sorry, but I am going to go out of alphabetical order for just a moment. And we're going to go to the Greed Swarm. Since we're in this whole idea of using treasure to manipulate your players.
Yes.
The Greed Swarm is essentially what it sounds like. It is a swarm of, like, coins and valuables that has kind of been given life. So it has, like, a coin at its heart that has been corrupted or something. In our Midgard world, you could say it's been corrupted by Mammon, but it could be any type of, like, deity or devil or something of greed. And that coin starts, like, attracting more coins and valuables to it, and then eventually becomes this swarm that just beats you up with coins. Yeah. And it's really fun to me because I love the idea of you walk into this, the dragon's hoard chamber, right? And you take down the dragon. Now that all the gold is ours. Well, now all the gold is this giant swarm attacking you. And you have to find that one coin, and it's great.
Yeah, literally.
I love the thing about this, though, that its challenge rating is, like, minimal, like a half, right? It's not a big bad. It's more of a pest at lower level. Like, first level characters can't deal with a mimic necessarily, but they should still have weird and interesting encounters, I think.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, there's only so many times you can just like go straight into battle, or you can solve the same kind of puzzle. Like, what a puzzle to literally have to find the one coin in a pile of coins. Like, that's I love that.
So I think it's the sort of thing that a lot of first level parties will remember, more than they'll remember those rats, that goblin.
Yeah.
But yeah,
for sure. Remember that time I tried to pick up the treasure and then it started attacking us? Yeah, for sure. That is so neat. And what a nightmare if you walked into a place with multiple swarms. Like, think about like walking into a place where there are a couple of these. I could end really poorly, really quickly for anybody that's like a squishy wizard. Especially
squishy wizards, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you think you've hit a jackpot, right? Like, you open the vault and there's all of this money and you're like, yes!
Yeah, we're rich!
We can retire from adventuring!
Yeah. That is, or like even a setup where, like a local bank vault is being plagued by one.
Oh.
Or something like that where it's like not in, it's like in the middle of town and everybody's money's now attacking them. That's very funny. I love that. Another very cool monster.
And actually, one of our Tome Beast 2 layers does have one of these in a vault.
Yes.
So that's
right. The layers book makes use of a lot of, man, I don't know how many, but it's a nice way to just sort of see these monsters in action.
Yeah, and that one is also available, right? People can grab that as well.
Oh yeah. In print, in PDF, on Roll20, on Fantasy Grounds, it's around.
It's all around.
So yeah, for people who want to see that one in action, that's in one of our Tome Beast 2 layer vaults.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think I got a picture of the layer book too. Look at me go. Boom. There's one. So you can see it both. So you can grab two Tome of Beast and Tome of Beast layers. And there's also, I feel like there was a third piece that came out of the Kickstarter.
Yeah, the pawns.
The pawns. That's right. Yeah. For all of you out there that really love your hard tabletop.
Yes. If you've got a camera, you just put it on the map. You've got your pawn.
And then you can see all this amazing artwork on little.
Nice.
I love it. Yeah. Okay, and what's our last one, Megan?
The last one is a golem. It is the Bearing Golem. So if we're talking about things that look kind of mundane in a dungeon, and then, oh my god, it's actually going to try and kill us, the Bearing Golem was really neat, and the art really turned out really well on that one as well.
Oh, this is... For all of you that have textural like feels, like if textures really get you, man, oh man.
Mm-hmm.
All right, incoming. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, the artist really nailed it. And it's weird and wonderful, right? It's definitely one of those, we go into a dungeon, we see the thing, wait, what do we see?
Yeah, like double take, total double take.
Total double take.
Also, well, and the great thing is it can actually scatter, right? So you just walk into a floor or walk into a room that's got, this bunch of ball bearings on the floor. That's kind of weird. And then it forms into a golem.
Wow. It's like both. It could be a rogue's best friend or a rogue's worst friend. That is very... Man, that's very cool. Yeah, I like a lot of these monsters seem to take really kind of like normal everyday things that we use throughout like our dungeoning and turns them into these monsters. And I think that's like ball bearings, for example. Like every rogue gets ball bearings, and nobody ever thinks to do anything with them other than maybe like drop them or set a small trap for someone. But I love the idea that there's a monster based on such a simple inanimate object, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, it even has a caltrop variant.
A caltrop golem? Now we are talking.
Yep, there should be a little sidebar in the book that says, hey, this is like 2 changes you need to make, and then suddenly, poof, your Bearing Golem is now a caltrop golem.
Yes, wow. I love that little variant sidebar. It's sweet.
That is very cool. Yeah, that's a great way to like quickly up the ante for your players too, or just like make it stronger or more powerful. Because, you know, I think we as GMs are always looking for easy ways to do this. Like, I really love this creature, but they're going to tear through it in no time? How do I
And
make it, more difficult versus adding more of something, which is usually the easy solution. That's very, very cool.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with adding a few more hit points and giving it a lot of extra spikes, but I think a separate power or an appearance change is just as effective.
It is. It totally is. Like going from ball bearings to caltrops is like, man, that's super cool. It's like it's a difference between stepping on marbles in your kid's bedroom and stepping on Legos, right? So I'll say one of my favorite things about this, now that I've been looking through it, is I'm a stickler for monsters that are like plant or foliage based. I love plant monsters, and there are so many good ones. Last week we went through the Flesh Drag, and I was looking through a few more, but there was another one that really caught my eye, and I just want y'all to know I can't decide if it's cute, because I do think it's cute. And I gotta remember what it's called. I'll find his little picture. He was actually right after the Flesh Drag. It's like a little caterpillar. What is it? The something
dancing foliage,
or the fragrant one.
The fragrant one. The fragrant
course.
one. I'm obsessed with the fragrant one. I am obsessed. I saw his little picture. I'm actually. Let me see if I can show it. I think I can show him to you. I think I have him prepped. But like totally obsessed with the fragrant one. What a cool creature. And again, I think sometimes when we think about monsters, we think monster. And another thing that I love about the mix of what's in this book is not all of them are just like flat out attack me. We talked about a little bit about that last week.
Oh, there's definitely plenty of that.
Yeah, there's tons of those.
But that's not the only flavor. Yeah,
right,
you're right.
Right. There's so many other flavors, and I love this idea that there's like some of these are just really neutral creatures or like exist in like a kind of weird place. Y'all, look how cute this thing is. It's like a mix between a caterpillar and a slug, and I just want to love it to death. Yeah, it's
It has one of my favorite bits of design too for a Weasley cowardly little fae like this. It's got a reaction. And not a lot of monster design really uses reactions well, but this one really does. It's an ability called Interpose Ally, and it can force one of its charmed allies to move in between it and somebody attacking it, which just feels Weasley and wrong and really appropriate for this kind of, I'm tiny, I'm helpless, shove, right? Like, just give you stand there, Buster.
Yep. I get, like, I genuinely just want to play a character that is this. Like, this idea of this poor slug that's just trying to get by, and it's got so many pheromones and so many like bodily functions that it cannot help. That there's something so funny in that to me. I just really think it's such a cool little creature.
It's a fun encounter for sure.
Yeah, definitely like a very different, very different kind of encounter. I mean, I guess you could just go and like kill the thing, but I think there's something fun in like the conflict of walking up on something that's dropping pheromones and the party may not know it right away.
Yes.
Of like walking in and somebody and maybe only one of the parties figuring it out and everybody else is a little enamored. I think that's very, very fun.
So
I
much
love the Alice in Wonderland art style on it too.
Me too. Yep. Yeah, because I mean, and that's another thing. Just flipping through this book, I find so much inspiration of like, I've always wanted to run an Alice in Wonderland themed something. Here's a very quick something that I could drop into that, or like a Hodag, for example. Like, I love this idea of like, what if I ran this very Midwestern themed something, and a Hodag would be the perfect thing. So again, you're really, really, I feel like this book really nails the needs that you talked about, right? Of like covering lots of different terrain and locations, providing quick and easy ways for a gym to grab something that they need to put at a table, or quickly upgrade something from ball bearings to caltrops. So yeah, I think it's, I don't know, it's a really, really, fantastic book. So everybody at home, if you haven't grabbed it, you know what? I'll do you a favor and put you a link right there in chat, so you don't even have to go Google it.
I mean, it's got a lot, and it's got fantasy wildlife, and it's got creatures that are great for familiars, and it's got snow giants, and
yep, there's a hare folk. There's
Yes,
like
a
a
little
hare
rabbity
folk, a little
one.
rabbit hare folk. I thought it was really neat. There was some lich options in there. I know a lot of times like liches tend to be very cookie cutter or can be very cookie cutter. And I thought the lich builds in this were very unique and opened up a lot of opportunity for like a different story to be told for a lich, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, I actually, it was another list that I had in case we wanted to do that, which is different things that we had like new takes on
Yeah.
in this book.
Yeah.
That
Hey, we still got time. Like I said, I kind of did a quick scroll through, but I love the new take. Yeah. What are some other new
Stuff
takes?
like the scroll mummy was one, but I'm sure there's more.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you mentioned the lich, the virtuoso lich, being kind of that bardic lich that isn't a lich because I spent years and years getting a formula. It's a lich because I have this unfinished masterpiece and I died before I could do it.
Yes.
But other new takes are we've got everybody likes corrupted fae, right? So we've got like the cadaver sprite and the corrupted pixie. Another one would be we've got the amber ooze. So instead of an ooze that's trying to kill you, it's an ooze that actually preserves you and it wants to preserve life. But it's not really smart enough to know what it's doing. It's just kind of like, oh, look, here's an innocent little thing. I'm just going to hold on to it. And then it's like frozen in time, right?
Oh, wow. That gives me now a slew of ideas. Like, what if there's like a museum full of these like that have things trapped from like all over the land, right? Because you said it's preserving. Man, that's really cool. That's inspiring. I dig that. And
then we've got the psychic vampire. So it's a vampire that eats memories rather than blood. So that's another like new take on vampire.
Yeah.
And then I've got two more. We've got the virit. So you're talking about plant-like creatures. So it's the concept of it's the big plant that eats people, like the giant Venus trap.
Yes.
Except it doesn't eat people. It swallows people that are diseased because it actually eats disease. And then once you're no longer diseased, it spits you back out. So like really desperate farmers will go and like try and find one to be like, well, we have this plague. And if we can survive its stomach acid long enough, we'll be cured of the plague or whatever.
Wow, what a really interesting take for a druid too. Like a druid that heals people through the okay, love that. Very cool.
There's weird stuff.
There's such weird stuff. I love it.
And then,
I like well, yeah, keep going.
Oh, sorry. The last one I had on my list was so in the creature codex, we have a Gorling. The Gorling was our answer to what do necromancers do with all the leftover parts?
Oh,
well, they make it's a little hand that goes after you, or a little foot that goes after you, or some intestines that goes after you. And we continue to answer that same question in this book because we have the husk. So when a necromancer makes a skeleton, what happens to all of the extra flesh? Well, the flesh can become a husk. So you've got the skeleton, and then you've got all the skin that was on the skeleton, and they both are coming after you.
Wow. I was like about to say, there's another whole Cthulhu option right there. I feel like there's a whole thing about like body dysmorphia and yeah.
Yeah, it's just a lot of nightmare, right? Boneless, flapping, smothering you with their
Yeah.
And there's what I like about this one, design-wise, is there's two of them. There's the little one, which is like a skeleton in its danger level, and there's a giant one, which is just what it sounds like, right? Let's skin a hill giant. And, and the idea of that much flappy skin of a fat old hill giant. No.
And it smothers you. It grabs you and smothers you. It's great. It just wants a hug, Wolfgang.
Nightmares.
It just wants cuddles. Man, that's very cool. Well, any last minute thoughts? Any more things you'd like to share about this before we share our big announcement?
I guess sort of leading into that big announcement, I'll say that one thing we did in this book, we had Tarkoon the Desiccated. Actually, the art on that's amazing too. Which is a Fey Lord of the Desert, and I'm really happy about this one because most of the Fey Lords we do are always about forests and rivers and rolling hills and green and pleasant Fey-infested land. And Tarkoon isn't. He's a desert Fey and a desert Fey Lord. And so he's out at the oasis or he's out between the dunes. And still as much a creature of whims and fancies as anything that we think of as the traditional Fey. But yeah, has a really different vibe just because of the different terrain.
Yeah.
And the art.
And the art, of course. Speaking of different terrain and art, would you like to share with everybody at home what's next for us?
Yes, I would. And Megan knows because she's been working on it. We are kickstarting the Southlands. At the end of this month, we kick it off. So, desert, jungle, rivers, all of the high mountains of the South are going to get a 5th edition D&D treatment, which people have been asking us about now pretty much since 5e shipped, because the Southlands is one of our most popular settings at Kobold Press, and it's very much based on, a warmer climate, a sun that doesn't quit, gods that walk the earth and live in various cities. And the heart of that is Perbastet, the city of cats, which is where we have a number of adventures for 5e. And so you might think that we will be doing a world book for the Southlands with full details and updates for 5e. And we're going to add a few other things in addition to that world book to expand further the options for playing 5th edition D&D in the South. If it's like the prior iteration, there's an insect race, the gnolls get a lot of play, cat folk and minotaurs, but we're also going to have a couple of new options that I won't talk about just yet. New art, new cartography. It's just come together beautifully, and I'm really happy with being able to present a new edition of this Land for High Adventure.
Yeah, I'm special and got a sneak preview of some of the art for this Kickstarter, and y'all, it is amazing. I'm very excited for it to officially drop, so backing and all of that, but I'm excited because we're working on trying to get a playthrough of it here, an actual play here on the Kobold Press channel. So we're working on maybe getting to show all of you some of the new content in action while the Kickstarter's happening. So keep your ears to the ground for that, because it's coming. It should be very exciting.
I want that to happen. We will be on Kobold Chat with more about this, I'm
starting
sure.
next week.
Yes. And it's the work of many hands, right? Like a project this size doesn't happen with a small team. But from the art to the design to the editing and the cartography, we've learned a lot since we published it originally, and we're going to make it bigger and better and even more amazing than the first time around.
Yep. Yeah, I have 2 favorite settings, desert and swamp. So you guys are checking one box.
Good. We are pleased to cover. I mean, there's a long D&D history of desert adventures and tombs, right? And trying to go out into some dry wasteland and survive and come back. And the Southlands has that in spades, but it just droves of really high civilizations, really I don't want to call them environmental adventure, because the heat and the sun and the lack of water is really not that big a deal for high fantasy. It's sort of a flavor. The real problem is the sandworms and the Fey Lords and the Gnoll tribes and the everything else. The mummies, the scroll mummies.
And the scroll mummies. Yeah, and I know I'm pretty stoked. Like you had mentioned, a couple of the new races that are coming, and there's some god activity, which I know that's something that, as a GM, I'm always looking for new and interesting ways to tie in that kind of hierarchical tiering of the way the gods function, and how do you, as the little man, exist among them, and the idea that they're just walking the streets is very, very cool, and I'm excited to see how all that pans out and what comes out of it, and how all of you at home start to use that content to make awesome things. So
think people are going to have a lot to choose from there.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a whole setting, right? It can stand alone. It doesn't rely on anything else. Well, okay, it doesn't hurt if you have Tome of Beasts and Deep Magic, right? Because there are options in those things that play very well with the Southlands. But it's going to be adventures, setting, and character options. So we've got you covered. We've been working on it for a long time, and we'll see. You can sign up if you're interested. You can either I think there's something on the Kobold Press site.
There is. There's actually a link in chat that takes you right there. You can sign up.
Yes.
To make sure that you get the first news about the Kickstarter launching. And like I said, we're going to be back next week talking for the first time more about it, giving you more in-depth. So I know chat's like, spoil things for us. If you want spoilers, you got to come back next week.
Yeah, no, this week is the Tome of Beasts 2 discussion, but I think we'll have some art to spoil next week.
Ooh.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say there's some new Southlands art coming next week.
Okay.
Which may freak people out or may not. I don't know. I hope so. And Megan has done a few things with Southlands. I don't know. Do you want to talk about some of it, or do you want to?
I mean, I worked a lot with the City of Cats stuff. So you were talking earlier about the gods walking among us, and in Per Bastet, that's the city where Bastet is. That's like her home city. So one of the things there is you're always nice to the cats because you never know if one of the cats is Bastet.
Oh.
So even if you're just like, this cat's kind of annoying in the street, you don't kick it.
Yeah, don't be mean to the cats.
Yeah, don't be mean to the cats, because you never know. One of them might be Bastet. Just kind of walking around, seeing what the people are like, See,
and the chaotic DM in me is like, make sure to put a really annoying cat in your players. Like, just tempt them. Just tempt them to be mean to it. Yeah, it's so awesome.
That one cat that's like constantly meowing and follow them around.
And it's like, feed me.
And for those that do like the Midgard and our optional status rule, for those that are familiar with it, in City of Cats, we do have more status rules because Per Bastet's kind of its own entity. The Southlands is its own setting that you can put anywhere, and Per Bastet itself is also kind of its own city that you can put kind of anywhere.
Okay.
Desert-like.
It's the Zobek of the setting, yes.
Right. And and we actually have a separate status thing we added for how do you piss off the city, or how do you make the city happy with you.
Right.
Part of that is like being nice to cats. Don't kick the cat. Don't murder citizens. That should be obvious.
People, yes.
Yeah, right. I love it. Well, I'm excited to hear more about it, but because we promised we'd save some for next week, we're gonna have to save some.
We're over time.
We are. We're just a smidge. But yeah. So everybody, go grab your copy of Tome. I'm gonna drop another link in chat for you. Get your hands on it. You'll find, I believe, there as well, the rest of the store, where if you want to get your hands on that limited edition copy, you can do that as well. So lots there for you to check out before we see you back here next week for more chats. And we talk all things, hopefully, Southlands. So, anything you want to leave everybody with before we depart on this Wednesday?
Oh, man. What I want to leave people with is a request. Honestly, we've gotten a bunch of stories about people who've pulled a monster from Tome of Beasts 2 and brought it to their tables, and I got to tell you, every single one of those stories makes me happy, because you do 2 years of work on a monster book, and then you start hearing about, I put the fragrant one in this, I used a snow giant, I need some ice bogeys, right? Whatever it is, and they're seeing their players react, and they're just writing in and saying, hey, this is what we ran. So if you want to throw a comment on what monsters you've used from Tome of Beasts 2, those of you who've already picked it up, that always makes the team excited to maybe start working on Tome of Beasts 3 sooner.
Y'all heard it here first. Chat's already saying there. Looks like somebody's gonna have a meeting with the Pumpkin King today. So
yes,
that's
Pumpkin
perfect. King. Yeah. And remember, you can always tell us about it online.
Yes.
I don't know about Tome of Beasts 3, but definitely tell us about the monsters. I really want to hear about people using the monsters.
Excellent.
Yeah, chat says no, it's a Creature Codex 2 next time.
Very good.
Well, everybody, thank you so much for your time. Remember, we'll be back here next week, same Kobold time, same Kobold channel. And we'll be talking about this brand new Kickstarter set in Southlands. So until then, everybody, we'll see you next time.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.